All yours.
Well, thank you guys so much for having me. I really appreciate it. So I wanted to start with a quick question. How many of you have ever spent 2 to 3 hours editing a single image?
Whoa.
Most of us here. So tonight I'm going to introduce you to some tools that are answering the question of how do I speed that process up? Artificial intelligence has quietly become one of the most powerful forces in photography, not just in how we shoot, but also how we process, present what we shoot. So whether you're a seasoned pro or someone who's picked up on their first camera, these tools are really worth knowing about, especially because the industry is growing exponentially. So my name is Reiley, and for the next 15 minutes, we're going to walk through what AI editing actually looks like, look at some of the most powerful tools on the market currently, and then I'll give you some practical tips on how you can use these. All right. So what we're going to be covering today. So the 5 specific tools that we will be covering today are going to be Topaz AI, Luminar Neo, Pixlr, Imagen AI, and then AI features built right into Lightroom and Photoshop. And then after that, I'm going to share some universal best practices. So leading first, what is AI editing and why should you care? So when we talk about AI editing software, AI editing at its core uses machine learning. So these systems have been trained on millions and millions of images, and on edits that professional photographers have applied to those photographs. So they've essentially studied what a good edit looks like across thousands of different scenarios, whether that be portraits, landscape, wildlife, low light, etc. What it means in practice is that when you hand your photo to one of these tools, it doesn't just apply a generic filter, it actually recognizes the content of your image. So it can tell the difference between a sky and a face, what texture looks like on a bird's feathers versus foliage. And then it makes intelligent decisions, adjusting exposure, noise, color, sharpness based on everything that it's learned. And I want to mention something important pretty right up front, just because I know some of you might be thinking, is this going to make my photos look like everyone else's? And the answer is no. So these tools don't actually make the creative decisions. You still decide what story you want to tell with these images. You choose what you shoot, how you compose it, what mood you want to convey. But AI will handle the technical heavy lifting and the more time consuming stuff so that you have more time to focus on the creative choices that make your photo yours. So think of it less like autopilot and more like a really great assistant doing all of the grunt work for you. So in terms of AI versus manual editing, I want to specify the difference between them because I don't want to suggest that one is better across the board. So they're different tools for different jobs. With manual editing, the way most of us have learned, you have total creative control. So every mask, every decision is yours, but it does take time. It takes skill. And honestly, the results can vary depending on how much time you've spent looking at the computer, how tired you are, things of that nature. And then AI assisted editing flips all of that on its head. So it's fast. We're talking seconds to minutes on edits that used to take about an hour. And the skill barrier is significantly lower. As one of the most underrated benefits is consistency. AI doesn't actually get tired, doesn't have an off day, and applies the same logic image after image. So the trade-off that you give up is some of that raw control, but most tools right now give you plenty of sliders to override and fine tune these edits. As with anything, AI makes mistakes. And so making sure you're double checking the edits that AI is giving you is significantly more important than just taking what AI gives you and putting it out into the world. So what I want you to take from this is the best photographers are actually combining both. They're letting AI get you 80% of the way in about 10 seconds. And then the next 20% of the time, you're manually altering and using your personal expertise for that final 20%. And that's the sweet spot that most people have found. So moving on to the various AI tools. First, we're going to start with Topaz AI Suite, specifically their labs. So if you shoot wildlife, sports, or anything in low light, this is going to be a really useful tool for you. So Topaz Labs actually makes a handful of products, but the ones that are most prominent in the industry right now are Denoise AI, Sharpen AI, Gigapixel AI, and then their newest flagship is going to be Photo AI, which bundles all three of those tools together. So what does each one of these tools actually do? So Denoise AI does a lot what the name suggests is it tackles noise and grain. And I'm not talking just about the basic noise reduction you've been able to do in Lightroom. Topaz has actually trained its model specifically to distinguish between random digital noise and then actual image detail, like the texture of fur. So it keeps the detail while removing the actual noise of the image. And then we have it Sharpen AI, and this has three modes, one for general sharpening, one for motion blur, and then one for out of focus shots. Obviously, it can't work miracles, but it does help rescue some shots that you would otherwise throw away with small fixes. Gigapixel AI is really interesting as it takes your image and enlarges it up to 6 times. So using AI to intelligently generate the detail that would normally be lost in an upscale. This is huge if you want to make large prints or if you've cropped in too tight and lost some megapixels. Photo AI does all of this automatically. So you drop your image in, it will analyze it, identify the issues, present those issues to you, and you're able to confirm or deny whether or not you want to make those changes. Some quick tips for Topaz. It looks like everyone suggests to run denoise before you sharpen, just because if you don't do that, it will sharpen everything rather than reducing the noise prior to. Alrighty, and here are just some image examples of what Topaz can do. Moving on, we've got Pixlr AI. So this one I'm going to flag for anyone who hasn't gotten super deep into Lightroom or Photoshop or just wants to test something out that's not directly able to be integrated into Lightroom or Photoshop. So this is a browser-based tool, meaning you can go to pixlr.com, open your photo, and then start editing. So there's no download or installation, and then there's no subscription required for the basic version, which is great for beginners. The AI feature specifically is a one-click background removal, which is excellent for either product photography or portrait composition. They also have generative fill in this tool, which is very similar to what Photoshop does, which I'll touch on a bit later, where you can select an area and then fill it with AI-generated content based on a text prompt. I do want to highlight anything with a text prompt. Make sure you're being very specific with the AI as it can't read minds. And if you want something explicit in the image, being more specific is better than less. So let's say you wanted a forest with lush foliage in the foreground. Make sure to specify that rather than just saying trees, as it will create something unknown. Yeah, exactly. They also have batch editing, which allows you to apply the same adjustments to hundreds of photos at once, which is great. The free tier is pretty much capable for most casual editing and just exploring around the tool, where the premium tier, which is about $14 a month, unlocks the generative tools as well as batch processing. Alrighty. Moving on, we've got Luminar AI. So if Topaz AI is about technical quality, Luminar is about creative transformation. So this is a standalone editor that also works as a plugin inside Lightroom and Photoshop. So if you do primarily work within Lightroom, it wouldn't completely alter your workflow. So they actually change the content and the feel of your image with these edits. So the one that gets the most attention is going to be their Sky AI feature. So you can open a photo, let's say you have a dull, blown out gray sky. You click on this feature, and within seconds, you can choose from a library of about 500,000 images of dramatic sky replacements, and you'll have a completely different atmosphere. The thing that I find most interesting about this tool is it's actually smart enough to automatically adjust the lighting and the color of the foreground to match the new sky. So it'll be like you actually took the photo with the sky that you're choosing on this tool, which is great. So it's not necessarily just slapping a new sky on top, it's making sure the whole image looks pretty cohesive. Some other tools that they have within this, or I guess other features they have within this AI is Portrait AI, which handles skin smoothing, and then Structure AI. One last one I do want to highlight is their Relight AI. I do find this fascinating as it allows you to add a new light source to an image after the fact. So if you need a warm backlight to a portrait, or let's say a landscape subject is a little bit dull, you can add a new light there and AI will simulate realistic lighting, which is great, especially if you hadn't foresaw that while taking the image. Alrighty. So this tool, Imagen, is going to be a little bit different from everything else we've talked about up until this point. And then for anyone who shoots in high volume, this might be the one that excites you the most. So it's not a general purpose editor as the previous were. It actually has one specific powerful job. It learns how you personally edit photos and then allows you to do that at scale. So how it works is you upload a set of your edited images to Imagen. They'll recommend at least 3,000 before and after pairs for you, meaning your raw images are paired with finished edits from Lightroom. It then will analyze all of those pairs, study the patterns in your choices, how you handle backlit portraits, how you treat golden hour landscapes, what you do with skin tones, and so on and so forth. And then it will build a personalized AI profile that is trained on your style, not a generic standard across the entire platform. So from that point on, whenever you have a new shoot, let's say it's a wedding or a family event, you can upload those raw files into Imagen and it will return a Lightroom catalog for you with your edits already applied. So you can have also multiple profiles, which I find really interesting, especially if you're shooting with different categories of images, whether that be a sporting event, whether that be a group of landscape photos or a family event. The turnaround is fast enough that you can apply one of these profiles. You can upload it before you go to bed and wake up with a brand new Lightroom catalog with all of your edits already applied. So right? The only caveat with this tool is it only works with Lightroom Classic, so it isn't for Capture One users. And as I mentioned previously, you'll definitely want to review what AI gives you and fine tune those results. I would say plan on about 10 to 20% of your images from any AI source needing a manual touch up just to make sure you're capturing everything. And so, as we're on the topic of AI learning your style. One may ask, how does AI learn your style? So if you wanted to train a new assistant to edit your photos, you'd probably sit them down, show them your work, and say, this portrait, notice how I pulled the shadows up, added warmth to it. And after a while and seen through examples, they'd begin to get it. So Imagen and tools like it do the exact same thing, but at a significantly larger scale and with much more precision. The AI actually isn't guessing, it's measuring the exact difference between your raw file and the finished edit across thousands of images, putting together a algorithm that will then be transformed into new images that you upload. So the result is not actually a copy of someone else's style, it's a model of yours. Alrighty. So moving on to some Adobe AI features, I'm first going to dive into the features in Lightroom and then transition to the features in Photoshop. So I'm sure most of you have used Lightroom at least once in your lives or are very familiar with Lightroom. Adobe has actually been quietly adding various AI features to Lightroom for the past few years. And at this point, these features rival, if not exceed, a lot of the other tools on the market. So their biggest one that they're known for is AI masking. I'm sure many of you have spent lots of time in Lightroom making manual selections, either painting over skies, drawing around subjects, and realizing just how time consuming that can be to get an accurate selection. AI masking makes all of that largely obsolete. So with one click, Lightroom can create a perfect mask around your subject, separating them completely from the background. An interesting feature about this is you can actually have AI mask an individual's face, hair, skin. So if you wanted to make the skin more vibrant, you could mask just the skin and make edits just to that portion of the photo, which is
Can you put hair on Keith's head?
only if I can put hair on yours. And so basically you can change the sky without touching the landscape, similar to Sky AI that I mentioned previously. And then you can selectively sharpen someone's eyes in just a portrait. They also have various other features like Lightroom AI denoise, which is another really big standout. It will process your raw image at a deep level and then produces noise reduction results that rival or beat dedicated tools specifically for that. They've got generative remove as well, and then super resolution. One I do want to touch on is my favorite sleeper feature. It's called AI powered search. So rather than tagging various images, to stay organized, you can actually just look in Lightroom's search bar. If you type dog or sunset, it will pull all of those images that match that specific description. So you don't have to spend hours looking through tags or looking through various years and years of photos.
Are we
And
talking about the, just the search bar?
yeah, so they've recently added in a new feature where you can, let's say you have a file of various dog images and you're looking for one of those, you can type in fluffy dog and it will pull all of the images that match that description.
So how does it know that you're asking AI, not your keyword search?
Yeah, so usually what happens is you have to actually automatically enable that feature. And then when you're enabling that feature, you'll specify, I'm forgetting what the specific AI tool is called on here, but you'll specify that AI tool, it'll pop up with another search bar, then you'll type in dog and it will pull all of those images.
So it's a separate search bar than the one that you would use for attributes.
Correct. So usually you can find that in the settings. It should be under AI powered search. Yeah, AI powered search. And from there, it will open another search bar and then you can type in whatever descriptor that you want to use and it'll pull off those images. Yeah. And then moving on to Photoshop. And Photoshop has arguably had the most dramatic AI transformation from any tool in the creative industry over the last 2 years. Their headline feature currently is generative fill. And this is where their AI allows you to select any area of an image, type a text description, and then the AI will generate new content that fits actually seamlessly into the scene. So you can remove an entire background and then replace it with something different. You can add an element that wasn't there. It does sound like science fiction, but I promise you it is real. Related to that, they also have generative expand, which solves a problem I'm sure everyone has ran into. You shot a beautiful portrait, but the crop is a bit too tight. So with generative expand, you can actually drag the canvas edges out, hit generate, and then Photoshop will fill in that new space with a realistic extension of that background, which is game changing, especially if you've only shot something pretty small and you wanted the image to kind of be a little bit bigger.
It's saving them time.
So moving on to some best practices when using AI. So I've got a couple tips here. So always work with raw files, not JPEGs. AI tools need data to work with. And so a raw file has significantly more information, whether that be in highlights, shadows, color, significantly more than a compressed JPEG ever will. So the better starting material, the better the AI result is going to be. So apply noise reduction before you do anything else. This is especially true in Topaz and in Lightroom denoise. First you sharpen, then you color grade, or denoise first, then you sharpen, and then you color grade. If you sharpen a noisy image, like I mentioned previously, you're sharpening the noise too, and that does not necessarily look the greatest. Next, use AI as your starting point, not necessarily your ending. The tools will get you most of the way there, but your job is to review, refine, and add your own personal touch. If you're accepting 100% of what AI is giving you, you're 90% likely to miss something that AI has screwed up. Moving on, going, I guess, along with that point, fine tuning. Most of these AI tools, if not all of them, have or give you the ability to manually alter these edits. I suggest playing around with that just so you have more of a human feel to the images rather than just slapping a filter on with AI or allowing AI to kind of run rampant on your original image. And then I'm sure most of you have heard this before, but work non-destructively. Being that AI is so new and has a tendency to do things that we don't necessarily like, make sure that you're keeping your original images intact. Always use layers, whether that be in Photoshop or Lightroom or edit in Lightroom, without exporting your originals. So in case AI does make a mistake, which inevitably it will, you're able to revert back to that original image and it won't actually lose the image as a whole. Again, with that, batch similar images together. So if you shoot a group of images where the lighting is pretty consistent, it will produce consistent AI results as well as not make you sit there for hours going through each individual image and burning through multiple AI credits when you're generating these various images or edits, I should say. So with AI tools, you've got several AI tools on the market, not just the ones I spoke about tonight. Definitely try all of them out or try at least the ones that you're most interested in. All of these tools have very specialized functions, so use the tools that are specifically referencing your most significant pain points, not necessarily one that will cover all of them broadly. Right now is the perfect time to be utilizing AI, especially because all of these AI companies are really fighting for a spot to have consumers' attention. So most of them are very cheap. They offer free trials. I will say in the next 6 months to a year, these tools are going to get extremely expensive based on the domain that they're using. So find one that you like now while it's still affordable to be able to try out, and then determine which one you like the best. Yeah, so AI as a whole, some key takeaways from this is AI saves significant time. It takes edits down from hours to minutes, which is absolutely crazy. It works best as a starting point. Different tools solve different problems, and you don't need to spend a lot to get started, especially now. And lastly, the time to experiment is now, as I've just previously mentioned. But yeah, I'll leave you guys with this thought. The camera sees what you point at it, and AI helps show you what you meant. So that's what all this is really about, closing the gap between the image in your head and the image on the screen. And if any of you are still contemplating how useful AI is, this entire presentation was actually created with AI with a simple outline that I had mentioned and told them which tools I wanted to cover. So with that, thank you for your.
What did you use?
I used Canva, so it was a bit different. It was a presentation AI rather than an image generating AI, but it did pull all of those images, gave me the various sources for them, and generated a lot of the text that you saw on the screen.
And how long did it take?
It took approximately 2 minutes to complete.
Oh,
2 minutes to complete, about an hour of me researching all of the different tools and 2 minutes for it to put together a presentation, which is absolutely crazy. But yeah, I will give anyone the floor if anyone has any questions, but thank you so much for having me.
That was that. Thank you. It was great.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Go for it.
Would you do a workshop on AI?
Yeah, absolutely. If you guys had a specific tool that you enjoyed or wanted to hear more about, I could totally do that.
It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can even.
Yeah.
Have you played with it, Vogle?
I have not, but I've heard great things. I've heard that it's starting to rival Adobe's AI features right now. So I do have to look
It's a
into it.
game changer.
Okay, interesting.
So, but I'm a headshot photographer,
Okay.
and it used to take me about, I'm gonna say 75 to 90 minutes per headshot. Now it takes me 10 minutes.
No
Whoa.
kidding.
What's it called? Well, it's called Voto, but it's a pretty sophisticated, portrait retouching, not for me.
And it's not cheap.
I mean, and then it's not cheap.
These things
It's not cheap, but you know, it's
Most of them are fairly expensive. I will say Pixlr, their basic version, completely free. And all of the tools that I've talked about tonight have at least a week-long free trial. So if you did want to test out any of them, you can access those for free. And most of them are available as a integration into Lightroom or Photoshop. No, Pixlr is the only web-based tool that I've talked about tonight.
So you have to save its output separate from your.
Yes, correct. And Pixlr is mainly used for really quick edits. So let's say you have a family portrait and some random person you don't know came through the background. You can easily just remove them out, save the image, and export that if you didn't want to necessarily sit down and fully edit something in Lightroom.
All right, well, thank you very much.
That was great.
Thank you.